my Bookworm Sanctuary. My name's Bianca. Welcome or welcome back. Today I wanted to give you my 2021 favourite books I read. So basically each month I sort of allocate a book that is like my favourite that I read for the month. But I've also got a few more than 12 books here, extra favourite for the month as well. These books are not necessarily new books that were released in 2021. Most of them are new reads for me, but doesn't mean that they've been released in 2021. I think one or two have, but anyway. I've also reread a couple of books that still made it to my favourite list because they're freaking awesome books. So first things first, I want to mention Grassley Cole, No Rest for the Wicked. So this is obviously a reread, and this book is a million years old, as you can tell. It's a little worse for wear. It's seen better days. This is the first book I read in the Immortals After Dark series, and it's actually, I think, one of my favourites. It's about Katherine the Cold-Hearted and Bastion Roth. Katherine's in like a competition called like The High, and I think about three books are sort of based on this competition. And this one focuses on Katherine and the things that she's got to sort of go through. Sebastian is just devoted to her, and it's just fantastic. Another book that's a little bit worse for wear. She's also very old, but Dark Desires After Dusk. This one's about Holly and Caden, and they're fantastic. Caden's sort of had a crush on Holly and known that she was sort of his mate for a while, but he hasn't done anything about it because she's human, and they fall in love. And it's sort of like a road trip where he's sort of protecting her, and then they find out she's half Valkyrie. Stuff happens, problems. It's really good. I love it. Then I have my only historical romance that made it to my 2021 favourite is My Banks, Never Seduce a Scot. I actually only just recently read this, and I think it's going to make my all-time favourite list too. It's just fantastic. Graham is a Scottish laird, Highland lord thing, and he and Evelyn are sort of forced to marry, and she's touched, but she's such a strong person, and he is just so devoted to her, and it's just so beautiful. It made me cry. It's just a fantastic book. Then I've got an urban fantasy for you. So this one is Fair Game by Patricia Briggs. This is the third book in the Cry Wolf series, and this one sort of follows a serial killer that Charles and Anna are trying to find, and stuff happens with this serial killer, and Anna and Charles' relationship develops more and deepens more, and it's just, I really enjoy it. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea from what I've heard. I don't think everybody likes the Cry Wolf series, but I particularly love it. And it's sort of in the Mercy Thompson world, which is just so rich and different from what I've seen sometimes of like the whole werewolf fae stuff. So I really like that whole aspect in Mercy Thompson, which sort of carries over into the Cry Wolf series, and it's just, overall, I just love it. And then I'll give you my only YA, which is YA fantasy actually. It's Shadow and Bone, Lee Bardugo. So I picked up this, and funnily enough, I've only read the first two books in the series, in the trilogy, sorry, and I do want to pick up, or read, I should say, Six Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I actually do own. I finished book 2, I just haven't continued on yet, but book 1 is definitely up there. It was so, I liked the world, I liked the angst, I liked the grittiness, I liked the whole Darkling thing, and Alina. Didn't really particularly get the whole Alina Mal pairing, but whatever. I do actually really enjoy this. This is really, really good. It was fun. It was just quick paced. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I don't think I enjoyed the second book as much. I sort of got a little bit bored, and that's probably the reason why I haven't continued on yet. But I really do highly rate this one. And then I'll give you another paranormal. So this one is A Wolf Apart by Maria Vale. By the way, Maria Vale, I've had some interactions with her on Instagram, and she is like the nicest human ever. But these books, I really, 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 really like them. They're completely different. They're probably more fantasy than paranormal, I think, just because of the richness of the culture of the pack itself and the fact that the wolves are more wolf than human, if that makes sense. And just what they have to go through and how they deal with everything. And each book so far, I think there's 4. I think there is another book coming out soon. There's only 4 books at the moment, and each book is sort of written a little bit differently too, which I really like. And the one after this, The Last Wolf, fantastic book as well. But the problem with that is some people might not see it as a HEA, but I do. But this is fantastic. This is about Elijah and Thea, and Elijah's a lawyer, a solicitor, and he basically protects the pack in the human world. But he's struggling because, he wants to be back with his pack and be more with his nature, more with his wolf. And he and Thea meet, and fantastic. Then I have a rockstar romance. So Rift and Refrains by Devney Perry. I actually read the Hush Notes series because of Serena Bowen, because the first book is by Serena Bowen, Muses and Melodies, I think it's called. No. And I actually didn't plan on continuing the series, but I did, because my brain can't help it and I still have to complete series whether I like them or not. But this one is about Quinn and Graham, another Graham, were high school sweethearts, and then stuff happened and she went off and became a famous rock star of this band. And basically her grandmother passes away and she has to come home for the funeral, and she hasn't been home in like 10 odd years or whatever it is. And she reconnects with Graham. There's enough angst in this that it doesn't piss me off. Books, some that just get a little too angsty with the whole grief or anything really, and it drives me nuts. So a good healthy amount of angst in this one. And then I'll give you a hockey romance, which was another favourite of mine this year, Pucked. With Pucked, actually, it was a reread. So this wasn't a new read for me this year. Like The Immortals After Dark, I had already read this, but I decided this year I wanted to buy the series. So when each book came in, I pretty much reread them again. But Pucked is one of my favourites. Violet is hilarious. This is almost slapsticky comedy-ish, which I don't particularly like, but this worked for me. Like, Violet was just almost too over the top and strange, and I loved it. So, and Alex was just a cutie, and everybody else is great, and yeah, I really enjoy it. And while I'm on Helena hunting, I'll also give you a favour for a favour. So this is her spin-off series from Pucked. And basically Alex has gone to a new team and he's a coach there now, and this is the players of this new team. This one's about Stevie and Bishop, and Bishop is such a grumpy cinnamon roll dude. He's just, but he basically gets injured, and Stevie's a physiotherapist or something like that who basically helps him get better, and things happen. She has a brother in the team, but I just loved Bishop's grumpiness. He was just great. Staying in the hockey realm of things, Brooklyn Air also made it to my favourites this year. This one is about the owner of the Brooklyn Bruisers, and he's obviously a billionaire or a millionaire. And he and his assistant, Rebecca, have always sort of been attracted to each other, but have never sort of admitted it to themselves or each other. And Rebecca hits her head, and she sort of has to take some time off. And Nate's basically liked Rebecca for a while, and she gets a head injury due to slipping on the ice, and he's got to take care of her. And it's just so sweet. I love this one. And I read Cora Riley for the first time. So this is a huge, huge tome. It's so freaking beautiful though. Look at this. Isn't it pretty? I don't think it's so pretty. Anyway. It's got twisted loyalties, twisted emotions, and twisted pride in it. Twisted Emotions is the one I sort of want to mention, though all three are fantastic. Twisted Emotions is Nino and Kiara, and I think most people, if you're into sort of mafia romances, you've already read this, and you love the Born in Blood Camorra Chronicles sort of series, and I don't blame you because I do too. But this one with Kiara and Nino's sort of a psychopath or a sociopath. I can never remember which is which, so I'm sorry I get them confused. But basically, he's got no emotions, no feelings. Kiara has gone through some shit and has some major hang-ups, which is fair enough. And their wedding night is iconic, and the whole book is fantastic. And to sort of follow their story, Twisted Bonds follows them, and after they've gotten married, this is also another favourite. It's fantastic, and I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, this is just fantastic. It's a great series. So every year I look forward to Nalini Singh publishing another Psy Changeling book. So at the moment she's on to the Psy Changeling Trinity series, which is a sort of spin-off continuation of the Psy Changeling series. So this one, Last Guard, is the latest book. And I devoured this because it's one of my all-time favourite series. I think there's maybe one or two books that I don't like as much as the rest, but they're still like a 4-star book. So the whole series as a whole is an absolute winner chicken dinner for me. I absolutely love them. And I like Kanto's disability, and I like the progression of what's going on in the world. And I liked seeing the bears again, and it's just a fantastic series. It really is. Nalini Singh can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned with the Psy Changeling series. And then I read Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is my first Katie Robert book, actually. And I love this. This was fantastic. It was a Hades Persephone sort of retelling. It was sort of more, I guess, like urban fantasy-ish, where it sort of was more real world, and you know, Hades was more of like a position, and Zeus was more of a position than being like a god, if that makes sense. Anyway, very kinky, has a bit of BDSM feels to it. Hades and Persephone he's just and she, you know, she's ran away, she's crossed the river Styx, she's ended up with Hades, and it's fantastic. I'm not very helpful, but a great book. Okay, we're getting to the end. Another new author to me this year was Juliet Cross, Wolf Gone Wild. So this is the first book in the Stay a Spell series. Evie and Mateo are like a friends to lovers sort of romance. He's been hexed. He can now hear his wolf, who's called Alpha, who is funny, grumpy, so cute, and is obsessed with Evie. And she's a hex breaker, one of the more powerful witches out of New Orleans. And yeah, they just developed this really cute friends to lovers romance. It's probably light on the paranormal aspect, so if you're just sort of getting into paranormal romances, I think this is the way to go, because it's very real world-esque, but just enough witchy and vampires and werewolves thrown in there for me to love it. But yeah, this is great. More fantasy. So I read Grace Draven, Radiance and Eidolon. Both of them make my favourite list of this year. Ildiko and Brishan, again, also have a friends to lovers romance, but they're from different races, people, and stuff happens. But mainly I would say it's a slower sort of fantasy, like stuff happens. And there's political intrigue and evil forces, especially in this one. And there is some trigger warnings I probably would watch out for. But for the most part, I'd say it's a light sort of fantasy romance, but fantastic. I loved it. So the last 3 books I have for you are all Katherine Moon. So I discovered Katherine Moon this year, and I discovered A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. So with this one, I think it was one of the first books I read of her. It was either this or Written. This is monster smut. She's like a courtesan. It's reverse harem. There is a bit of intrigue plot stuff going on, but I'd probably say it's a little bit more on the erotica side, but it's very kinky, very fun. Again, paranormal, which I love. So I loved all the witchy creatures, the Jekyll Hyde thing. It was just a great, very, very, very steamy book. And then I want to mention Baby and the Late Night Howlers. I keep calling it Baby and the Midnight Howlers. It's not its name. Ignore the fact that her name is Baby, but Baby, again, another reverse harem, but this is more Omegaverse. And if you sort of want to know what Omegaverse is, I'd recommend checking out Books with Samantha. She made a whole video explaining what Omegaverse is, and she could explain it much better than my weird ass. So check her out. She's great too. She reads a lot of historicals, but at the moment she's reading a lot of Omegaverse, which I love. But this is, Baby's just found out that she's an Omega. She's in a nightclub and her heat hits, and this beta saves her, sends her to safety, and it's basically her trying to figure out how to be an Omega and listen to her instincts and fall in love with a million alphas. But I love the whole world, and all of the books are actually really good. Lola and the Millionaires Part 1 and 2 are fantastic as well. But so far, my favourite of the series is Bad Alpha. This was my 100th book read of the year, which meant I hit my Goodreads goal. Yay! But I love this book. Eve is just so badass and strong, and she makes some stupid decisions, but don't we all? And Adam is just so sweet and knee deep in problems, and Eve's sent to kill him, but she obviously doesn't, and she bonds with him, and then she tries to palm him or get rid of him to some other alphas, and it's just great. It's fantastic. So yeah, that was my 2021 favourite books read. I'm sorry if this once again was chaos, but that's okay. We'll get there. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you want. I'd really appreciate that too. If you have already hit that little subscribe button, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it means so much to me that you've subscribed, and I really appreciate you just watching my weird ass. But anyway, thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and I shall catch you next time. Take care, guys.